All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. We got week number 4 in the NFL. We're going to be going over all of the Sunday games in today's video, with the exception of Sunday Night Football. If you're looking for that, that'll be its own video here on the channel. But every other game on Sunday, we're going to be jumping into. I'm going to give you my lean on the side. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about any other plays, like player props or parlays, that type of thing. But as always, guys, keep an eye on the pinned comment of this video. That is where all of my final plays, so what I'm actually rolling with myself, all of my final plays will live for you to see in the pinned comment. In terms of how we've been doing, I mean, last week we have yet another, we can drop it, another profitable week in the NFL in week 3 there. We kind of cleaned up on Monday night as well, but even this video last week, we go 3-2 and make some profit, right? I don't know at what point, so we're 3 weeks into the NFL season. Week 1, we're 17-3. We're never going to do that again, right? Week 2, we made some money. Week 3, we made some money. I don't know at what point and what week we're going to have a negative NFL week. Hopefully it's not this week, but it's probably coming at some point. You can't stay hot for this long, but nonetheless, let's hope that it does, and let's keep that momentum rolling into this week. Fingers crossed we have another profitable week. But let's go ahead and jump into this slate. Before we do, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. It does a lot for the channel. We put out tons of video, tons of content, guys. And if you can just hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, it would be much appreciated. I don't take the position I'm in at all for granted. I do appreciate every single comment, like, and subscribe we get. So go ahead and do that if you're feeling up for it. But let's jump into the first game here on the slate. We got the Falcons taking on the Saints. Right now, Falcons 1-2, Saints 2-1. Falcons coming off of a tough loss against Kansas City there in primetime. They did beat Philadelphia the week before and then lost to Pittsburgh in week 1. So 1-2, kind of tough so far. I don't know exactly what we're getting out of this Falcons team. Even that win against Philadelphia, it felt like Philadelphia gave them the win versus, they go out there and take it. In terms of New Orleans, they looked really good to start the year. Carolina 47-10, Dallas 44-19, and then what was last week? A 15-12 loss to Philadelphia. In this spot, I've still seen more good out of New Orleans than bad, and Atlanta, like I said, there's a lot of question marks for me there, so I'll take the points. I think it's at 2.5 right now in some books as well, so plus 2.5 for the Saints is going to be my lean in this one. It's not the most confident lean. I don't know if I get to the window and bet it myself, but that is where I'm at as of right now. Definitely want to keep an eye on the injury report. Alvin Kamara listed as questionable. That's going to be absolutely huge. No kidding. Then in terms of the total, it's sitting at 42. I would say that this New Orleans defense is really good, right? But based on the majority of the season, again, just 2 out of the 3 weeks, we've seen their offense look fantastic, and I don't think Atlanta's defense is all that tremendous, so I'm going to lean towards the over. I could see both teams getting upwards of, 20 points, which all of a sudden we just need one field goal here or there, a turnover, something else to happen to get to that 43 number. I'll lean towards the over as well. Next game up here, we have the Colts taking on the Steelers. I thought the Steelers had a letdown spot last week. They proved me wrong. And I'm probably going to get a lot of hate in the comments again for this week because I think that this could be a letdown spot as well. I do like the Colts. I'm not trying to sit here and tell you they're a Super Bowl team or anything like that, but I think that they're fairly underrated. They're 2-1 right now. That one loss against Houston, they're 2-1 against the spread right now. That one straight up loss at the beginning of the year against Houston, I did see some offensive decency, I guess you could say, right? And Houston's a good defense. They're facing another good defense here in the Steelers, and if this game turns at all offensive, again, I kind of liked it last week. It bit me in the ass. We didn't bet it, but it was my lean. If this game turns at all offensive, I think that the Colts could win this one. Right now, plus 115 on the money line as well, but I'll take the points here at home. Colts plus 2. Again, if you think that this is going to be a defensive game, then obviously you're looking at the Steelers because they are, if not one of at least, the best defenses in the entire league, right? But I just don't know if the Colts can figure it out. Like, the Steelers haven't seen anyone as good as Jonathan Taylor yet, right? If the Colts get something going with a dynamic quarterback and obviously a very good running back, then I don't necessarily see how the Steelers can offensively keep up with them because it's not like this Colts defense is terrible either. Kind of middle of the pack as of right now. So yes, again, I'm fading the Steelers, at least in terms of my lean. We got a lot of hate in the comments last week, which rightfully so. I can see the path. Like, I'm not saying this is a demolishing win for the Colts, right? I could see the path to the Steelers, but on the road, 3-0 to start the year, I could see a little bit of a letdown spot. So hopefully Jonathan Taylor and company can get things going because I do like the Colts here. In terms of a total, I'm going to lean towards the over because, again, that kind of correlates to the Colts play, but don't necessarily love that, especially with the Steelers, giving them credit there on the defensive end, right? One player prop I would consider is Pat Freiermuth, looking at his over in receiving yards. We've seen some success of tight ends going up against the Colts so far. I also don't mind him for plus. I think he's in the plus 300s for a touchdown. That could be something we consider. I know I'm ragging all over the Steelers offense, but for him to go out there and get 30 yards doesn't seem all that ridiculous. And then just to pop in a touchdown for 3-1 odds there, I don't mind that either. So Pat Freiermuth could be a spot as well. But again, my favorite lean here, and a lot of people are going to hate it, would be the Colts. All right, we move on to Houston taking on the Jags. Right now, Houston 6-point favorites, total sitting at 45.5. Houston stunk last week. So did the Jags, though. So, and on H2H, the show that I do with Tassos here on the channel, we both kind of agreed, and it was one of his plays that he rolled with in that show. The under 45.5 in this spot. I don't think Jacksonville's offense is there. I think that they could easily be staring down a really bad season in terms of scoring the ball. Houston didn't look all that tremendous last week, right? I mean, they only put up 7 points, which is obviously a tough spot there. So these two teams combine for 17 points total last week in terms of points scored. Now, I do like that under 45.5. You have a bad Jacksonville offense, and then Houston's defense is top 10 in both pass and run. I think that they're second versus the run in DVOA and 8th against the pass, which is both really good numbers. There are some injuries to note if you like Houston on the side here. Tank Dell, Joe Mixon, I think even Dalton Schultz is banged up. So offensive injuries, obviously huge to look at here from a spread perspective. But even if those guys don't play or one of them doesn't play or something like that, I think that helps the under 45.5 as well. So I like the spot here. My only concern is, does Houston just fire back after a terrible offensive week? Like, they have the capability and the firepower to do it. So do they bounce back and put up a big number themselves? Potentially. I'm just really hoping that Jacksonville doesn't even come to play in terms of offense. In terms of a spread pick, I still would lean towards Houston. I think Jacksonville stinks. The defense is all right, but even you have a good offense in Buffalo, right? They go up there and hang a big number on them. I don't see any reason why a healthy Houston team, if healthy, couldn't go out there and do the same or sort of similar type of thing. So I'm going to lean towards Houston -6. If this was at, -7 or, hell, 7.5, I wouldn't even be sniffing it. But I do think keeping this within a touchdown, right now it's only 2 field goals for a push. I could definitely get behind that. Again, that also helps the idea of Houston in a absolute bounce back spot. In Minneapolis last week, 34-7 loss. That's got to taste pretty disgusting. And then they go at home here against a bad Jacksonville team. They should be able to put up a good number. So I like the spot here. I'm just hoping Jacksonville doesn't come offensively because obviously we like the under here as well. So Houston and the under. All right, next up, we're looking at the Packers, and we just talked about them, right? The Minnesota Vikings. Now, Minnesota has looked very, very good to start the year. There's literally no denying that. They're 3-0 against the spread here, 3-0 straight up. Green Bay is doing a decent job as well. Other than that first game there against Philadelphia, they've won 2 straight. They've covered in 2 straight, so give them a little bit of credit. Jordan Love is questionable. Obviously, that's going to be a huge deal if they get their quarterback back. But even last week, Malik Willis didn't look all that terrible, right? 13 of 19, 202, and then 1 touchdown. He ran 6 times for 75 or just under 75 yards as well, so obviously that's good. Ran for a touchdown. He's been playing well, so I think that this could be a spot to kind of like the Packers. I think everybody and their grandma is going to be all over the Vikings, and while the Vikings have one of, if not, like I said with the Steelers, one of the better defenses in the league, I don't think that they are the best defense. The Steelers probably have that crown right now, but the Vikings, one of the best defense in the entire league, right? But the Packers offense has quietly been a top 10, at least from a DVOA perspective, offense. So I like the idea of that, especially if Jordan Love is playing. Now, if he doesn't play, I'm less inclined to, jump on the Packers bandwagon here and ride them into the sunset. I don't think that that'll be the case. But if Jordan Love comes back, I think people forget just how good this offense can be and just how good this team can be, especially when healthy. So I'll lean Packers in this spot. I can definitely see an argument made for Minnesota, especially if you think it's going to be a defensive game. But overall, I do like the Packers. One player prop spot that I like, and it's just because of the narrative, Aaron Jones playing in Lambeau here, coming back. Like, I could see this being a nice little spot for him too. Maybe a touchdown, something like that. Something well. But if I think that Packers are going to be winning this game, I think they're going to rely on their offense in terms of passing a little bit more on the Minnesota side of things. So maybe it's not exactly the best look. But maybe if he punches one in back in his home stadium there, ex-home stadium, I could see that. Jaden Reed as well. I think wide receiver number 2 has been having really good success against this Vikings defense. Even though they're very good, Vikings are very good at taking away your run game, taking away your best receiver, that type of thing. But overall, I mean, look at what we've seen from wide receiver number 2s, right? So if Jaden Reed can go out there, who he's leading the team in targets, had a bad week 2, but has 6 targets in both week 1 and week 3, I think that Jaden Reed could have a decent game as well. So maybe we look at receptions from him or something like that as well. But yeah, Packers, and I guess I would say the over if I think that the defense is going to kind of slip up a little bit on the Minnesota side of things. And before we do get to the rest of the games, guys, I do want to shout out Sleeper. They have a free square for you right now. I think they also are going to have a Monday Night Football free square if you sign up today. But Sunday night here, you got Josh Allen, 0.5 passing yards. All he has to do is pass for 1 yard, and you get a winner there. If you don't know what Sleeper is, it's an awesome player prop app. You pick more or less based on the projection you have. You combine 2 or more players into a slip. The more you win, the more you get paid out. And this one's obviously a winner if he just passes for 1 yard. So go ahead and check it out, guys. That link is in the pinned comment. With that link, you're also going to get your first deposit matched. Go check it out. If Sleeper's available in your area, I don't know why you're sleeping on it. No pun intended, pun very much intended. Go check it out, guys. 100% of your first deposit matched, and you get this Josh Allen square. What I love about Sleeper, too, one unique thing that they do that not many other of these apps do, is the fact that each and every play you throw into your slip has its own dynamic payout multiplier. It does not just follow a 2 for 2 is 3x, 3 for 3, blah, blah, blah. No, each and every slip should have its own dynamic odds and payout. So very, very cool, guys. Go check out that link in the pinned comment and sign up for Sleeper. 100% of your first deposit matched, and you get this Josh Allen square, and I feel like I've heard some rumblings of a Jared Goff free square as well for Monday night. But let's go ahead and jump back into these games. Go check out Sleeper, link in the pinned comment. All right, we got a weird one up next. We have the Panthers taking on the Bengals. Panthers obviously get their first win of the year with Andy Dalton at the helm and all that last week. I get it, celebratory. The Panthers still stink out loud. Like, we can agree on that, right? And though we're seeing a Bengals team not exactly look all that tremendous, doesn't this just scream Bengals spot for you right now? Inside a touchdown, plus 4.5 here for the Carolina Panthers, meaning, you know, minus 4.5 for the Bengals, who are 0-3, 1-2 against the spread, though, with a tough loss on against Washington in primetime. Like, this just screams a bounce back spot for the Bengals. Now, does it smell a little bit like a trap? Honestly, a little bit, but I just can't see any reason to get to Carolina. I've seen some narratives on Twitter of like, Andy Dalton against his old team, and the Panthers are rolling. Like, no. Let's settle down. This Panthers team is still bad. They're bound to win one game, and yes, they beat the Raiders. Big whoop, right? And we know Cincinnati struggles all the time to start the year. This seems like a good get-right spot for them. Week number 4, right around when they seem to start to figure things out. So, yeah, I like the Bengals in the spot. Even those first 3 losses, each of those have been by 1 possession or less, obviously. So it seems like a good spot to back the Bengals. Minus 4.5. Like I said, just smells a little bit like a trap. Like, I'm surprised this isn't at 6.5 or maybe even minus 7. But overall, I just can't see any reason to back the Panthers here just because they have Dalton and win a game last week. Like, I'm not jumping and throwing a parade for them like they might be doing for themselves. I think that this is a good spot. But again, I'm a little worried of that line. It's begging me to take the Bengals. In terms of the total, it's sitting at 47.5, which seems like it's a pretty damn high number, especially with these Panthers playing, right? Like, the total that we've seen so far for the Panthers has been 41.5, 39, and then 40. So obviously we're going to expect some offense to come from somewhere, and that's going to be the Bengals. So I'd like the over, but I'd probably look at the Bengals team total over before I do anything else, because I don't want to have to rely on the Panthers to make up whatever percentage they need to do to hit this over. Does that make sense? One player prop that I consider at least more of a player prop spot would be looking at Zach Moss rushing and receiving. He clearly defined himself as the better back in that Monday night loss. Chase Brown's very good as well. I'm not trying to take much away from him, but I do think Zach Moss is going to be more of the pass catcher and the predominant running back as well, in a spot in which they'll probably go running back heavy here against the Panthers if they get out to a lead. I don't mind his overs, but I'm wondering if after last Monday night, I don't have the lineup in front of me, after Monday night, if his lines are going to be kind of shot through the moon. So I'd consider that, but main play here and main lean, probably going to be the Bengals minus the 4.5 points. I think that this is just a good little get-right spot for them overall. And I'm not going to lie, this one's a weird one too. We got the Bears taking on the Rams. Bears favored 2.5 points here. Total sitting at 41. The Bears are at home. But this is another one that kind of seems a little fishy to me. Like, I know that this Rams team, I almost said the LA Angels. This Rams team is absolutely banged up with some crucial injuries, right? Most notably, I guess you could say Cooper Kupp, even Puka. Like, yes, they are banged up, but overall, they're still what I would consider the better team. I think that Cooper Kupp has already been listed out. Puka's obviously on IR, so they have what? Tutu Atwell, Demarcus Robinson. Like, yes, their offense definitely seems to be in a rough spot here, but what did they do last week? They go out and play one of the better teams in the league in San Francisco. San Francisco also banged up, I know, but they beat them 27-24 as 6.5-point dogs. I think that they have the momentum cruising here. Chicago gets that week 1 win, which who even knows if they deserve that. They lose to Houston. Okay, you can understand that. Lose to Indianapolis. Where are the people saying Indianapolis stinks now, right? Because that would help this pick if you do truly believe that. So to me, this is just a Rams spot to get 3 points. I think the total, the spread is up to 3.5, so or 3 at least. So if we can get a field goal with the Rams, I like this spot. Now, like I mentioned, 41 points is the total, and we do have a lot of injuries on this Rams side of things, and the Bears offense I really have not seen click all that much, so I guess I'll lean under overall, but I just think this is probably a better coached team with more veterans on the Rams side of things. They can pull out potentially, keeping this to a field goal game and covering or pushing, but they can definitely even pull out a money line win here. I wouldn't be surprised. Now, do I get to the window with this? I would say that those injuries, especially on the offensive end for the Rams, make it very, very tough. Obviously, Donald no longer being there on the defensive end either. Like, they're missing 3 of their best players from last year type of a thing. So I get why the Rams may be dogs here. And with those injuries, I probably stick away from touching them. But if I had a gun to my head, which I don't, I think I would go Rams plus the 3 points as well as the under. But yeah, am I crazy? Let me know in the comments what you think of this one, because I get that there's hype around the Bears and now they're at home and that type of thing. But for them to be, minus 2.5, I almost feel like they're the wrong team that's favored. Maybe I'm the crazy one in the room, but give me the Rams as well as the slightest of leans to the under. All right, we got the Jets taking on the Broncos. Jets 7-point favorites. I've seen a few 7.5s out there, and obviously, guys, at the time of recording, that's when we have these odds. They're subject to change in terms of the lines and odds, everything like that, right? As the week progresses. But I've seen some 7.5s out there, so it might be moving in that direction. The total's sitting at 38.5. I've seen some 39s out there as well, so clearly some money moving the lines here. I like the Jets in this spot. This Broncos defense has actually looked okay. I would say right now they've played Seattle, Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, kind of a mixed bag of opponents here. But their defenses look decent, right? 13th in the league via defensive DVOA rankings. But they've been really, really good against the run. They're top 10 against the run. But that's not exactly where the Jets have made their hay so far this season. Now, the Jets are 2-1. That tough week 1, loss against San Francisco. Then they cleaned up with the Titans and then beat the Patriots badly, right? But it's been the passing game. This is the top 10, 9th ranked passing DVOA offense right now. And that's where, Denver kind of struggles defensively. So yes, I'm giving the Broncos a little bit of credit for having a decent defense here at the start of the year, but I don't think that they're going to be able to be the team that stops Aaron Rodgers and what this offense is kind of putting together here. So yes, it's a lot of points at -7. I might just look at potentially like a Jets team total over to mitigate that one, because we do have a low total right now. And in fact, let's see if we can pull up their team total very quickly, because I do think that could be a nice little spot to look, and then we don't have to necessarily worry about that touchdown plus win, right? So in terms of what we see from this Jets team total right now, in terms of odds as well, over 21.5 for -160, over 22.5 for -140, -118 at 23.5. That may be a decent move, because again, 38.5 is fairly low to be able to cover that 7 points. But what if the Jets go out there and put up 30 and the Broncos scored 7 type of thing? The Jets did their job, they covered, but that total still is out of reach. So I would go in terms of a side here, Jets minus the 7 points, as well as potentially lean towards the over, because I think the Jets have a decent offensive game. But the hybrid approach may be just looking at the Jets team total over. It helps them cover that line, as well as not having to worry about the Broncos, who are going up against, we didn't even mention it, the Jets defense starting to kind of look and return to form like we saw last year. Mosley may be coming back as well, but you don't have to worry about the Broncos making up any portion of that total. So Jets minus the 7. I think that Aaron Rodgers has a decent game here as well. And I also think that Tyler Conklin could kind of get going. I like him over 2.5 receptions. He had 5 targets last week. Maybe Aaron Rodgers is starting to find a little safety net in that tight end. And Denver so far has allowed the 11th most receptions to tight ends. So give me the Jets minus the points, Jets team total over, as well as a potential look at Tyler Conklin over 2.5 receptions. We could definitely have some sort of a final play in this game, because I think we found a few little valuable advantages there for New York. Guys, our week 4 against the spread pick'em contest is live. It is a $10 entry fee. We've been obviously packing the $10 entry with the 10 teams. So now we've bumped it up to 15 entries available. So just for $10, guys, it's paying out the top 5 places. So you could be in the top third and win some money. Check out the link in the pinned comment. This is just for the Sunday slate. So don't worry about Thursday night or missing that, or even Monday night stressing to get those 2 games in there. Just the Sunday games. All you have to do is pick each game against the spread. For wins, you get points. For losses, you don't. And whoever gets the most correct ends up making that money. Again, it pays the top 5 places. $10 entry fee. 15 people can get in there. I think we have, at the time of recording, we haven't even publicized yet, but I think like 11 spots left. I'm one of those spots as well. So go check it out, guys. That link is in the pinned comment. It's very, very simple. $10. First 5 positions get paid, and just pick teams against the spread. Go check it out. Link, again, in the pinned comment. $10 entry. All right, this next one, I could see this being like an egg on my face type of a game because we might gamble on these injuries. We're a gambler. Might gamble on some injuries here and then none of the guys play. But we got Tampa Bay taking on Philadelphia. Second half of this game, I think we're expecting some rain, but my main lean here, I talked about it in H2H with Tassos, is I like the over 43. Yes, we have rain, and A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin are all questionable. So that's why I think we have such a low line here. 1, the weather, kind of gambling on that. 2, the top 4 receivers in the entire game are questionable. But even if half those guys play, or one of the sides get them, I do think that 43 could be a fair number here. Hopefully it's not like thunderstorm type rain or torrential downpour, but overall, that's going to be my main lean here in this spot. When you think about it, what these 2 teams have done, obviously Philadelphia coming off a 15-12 win against New Orleans, and then Tampa Bay scoring 7 points, right, last week against Denver. Denver, decent defense, like we mentioned. But overall, it's like, what a buy low spot for this game. Like, if you had everyone healthy and nice weather, and you saw the total here in Tampa Bay at, 43, you would chomp at the bit to get it, right? But this should be more so like 47.5. But again, we're gambling on a couple of those guys potentially playing and us getting a good line. So I'm admitting that there's a lot of factors working against us here, but overall, I still think Baker Mayfield and Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, like there's enough guys on the field here offensively that should be able to put up some touchdowns. So I like the over 43. In terms of a side, I still believe in this Philadelphia team, hoping at least one of the receivers ends up playing. That's massive. Jalen Hurts does not look like Jalen Hurts without those 2 guys out there, and he really hasn't had a full game here without Devonta Smith, right? Like, he got injured in the 4th quarter last week with a concussion, so if he doesn't play, we haven't really seen much of what that offense looks like without Brown and Smith. So obviously we have Barkley. That's great. Decent offensive line, but overall, I'm hoping that one of the receivers plays here for Philadelphia. I still do like Jalen Hurts over Baker, and then Saquon's an absolute X factor, right? So give me this spot for Philadelphia, but again, that over 43 may be my main lean. The Eagles' defense does not seem all that great, and then Tampa Bay, who is supposed to have a good defense, hasn't looked all that tremendous either. So 43, a lot of factors working against us here, but you know what? Scared money don't make money, so we might like that over. All right, Commanders, Cardinals here, and this one, another one that just kind of sniffs like or smells like a little bit of a trap spot here. We have the Cardinals 3.5-point favorites at home. Cardinals 1-2 straight up, but they've had a kind of a tough schedule, right? Like, they beat the team, the Rams. A lot of people like the Rams. They beat them 41-10 for their sole win. They played Buffalo week 1. Buffalo comes back and wins. They've played Detroit, a good team, week 2. Detroit wins. So it's not like they haven't, they have had a cakewalk schedule and still are 1-2. Like, no, they've had a tough schedule. Washington has played Tampa Bay, New York, and then a bad Bengals team. And I say bad because the Bengals still are not in full form, you know what I mean? So this is kind of a weird one because my immediate thought is, okay, right to Arizona. This is a spot in which I guess, Arizona, Kyler Murray should be doing fairly well. They have the 8th best offense from a DVOA perspective. Passing, obviously, being their biggest forte offensively. And then, well, if you look, I think that they're ranked like 5th in there. But if you look at Washington, 31st in terms of pass yards allowed, and then 32nd ranked pass defensive DVOA this year. Like, this should be a Kyler Murray spot, should be a Cardinals spot to be able to go out there and put up numbers. And I'll make note of that total being at 50.5 as well, right? Like, do they think that Washington's going to put up 30 points here? Like, I don't think so. This is a Cardinals spot for sure. That total is even representing a spot in which Kyler Murray should carve up a Swiss cheese secondary in Washington. Now, I don't mind Kyler's over in passing yards, and like I said, I like the Cardinals, but Marvin Harrison's questionable. Trey McBride's questionable. Like, definitely some things to note there from an injury perspective, but I honestly don't even know if I mind if those guys are out. Like, I still think that this Cardinals offense is way better than what we're going to get from Washington. And who knows, maybe I'm sleeping on Washington. Maybe I'm not giving them credit for the win against Cincinnati, that type of thing. But to me, that secondary says it all. I don't care how good their offense is. Kyler Murray and his craftiness should be able to torch that secondary. So if you can get a good line and good price for his over in passing yards, I don't mind it either. But I think you might as well just take the Cardinals minus the points, and you're kind of doing all that. Like, Kyler Murray will have a good game, and if they cover the line, he's going to need to have a good game, that type of thing. So give me the Cardinals minus the points. Total, I don't really want to touch. It's way up there at 50.5. I think that just more or less speaks to the Cardinals having a good offensive game. And if this does turn into a shootout, I'll take the Cardinals. So say Washington does go out there and score well, and Daniels looks good with his cast and crew, and Robinson running well, McLaurin, like that type of thing. I still like the Cardinals if healthy, if Marvin Harrison's there, if Trey's there. Like, I still like the Cardinals to win a shootout type of a game. So my main lean here, if you haven't picked up on it, Cardinals minus the 3.5 points. All right, so I've already kind of told myself that I'm not touching this game. Just kind of stinks of like a weird spot. San Francisco minus 10 here against New England. New England obviously stinks. I am a Patriots fan. Tough to watch them right now. San Francisco banged up. You can't really beat around that bush. But, coming off a tough loss to, playing the Rams last week, San Francisco probably comes in here with some fire, right? But still, no C-Mac. Deebo Samuel's doubtful. George Kittle is doubtful. Like, this offense shouldn't be in full form, obviously, but they don't need that to go out there and beat the Patriots. You know what I mean? So that's why 10 points seems like the San Francisco 49ers could do that and cover that, but it doesn't seem like it's like, I think it's just a little bit too much. If this was 6.5, then sure. I think that San Fran bounces back hard after last week and beats a bad team in the Patriots. But 10 points is still a lot. And though we've seen the Patriots, get crushed by the Jets last week, they beat Cincinnati week 1. Clearly, based on how I've talked about Cincinnati, I don't think that's big of a feat. They almost win that game against Seattle. Like, they've kept some games close. If San Fran can scheme and make this team look bad, I think that it's going to turn ugly. So that's why I don't mind the 10, but 10 just seems a little bit too much. I'd never take Patriots plus 10. So I guess if I had to make a choice, I'd go San Francisco minus the 10 points. But I already told myself and telling you guys now, most likely not touching this game. From a perspective of, a total here, so right now it's sitting at 39.5. I think I've seen it go up to 40.5, which kind of surprises me. I could see like a 26-15 game, right? So San Fran covers the number, and we see, 41 points, so it's like right there. Again, not going to touch it, but I'll lean towards the over, seeing as, maybe San Francisco is going to kind of open it up like the Jets did, and I just don't think the Patriots only scored 3 points again. So I'll lean towards the over, but it's kind of a rocky spot, honestly. And I know we're going to get people being like, well, why are you even talking about it? Well, one, we talk about every game, right? And two, I'm still just giving my opinion on it, but I'll be honest and transparent telling you that I don't have the strongest opinion on it, right? Like, if someone asks me a question, what do you think of this one? I'm not going to be like silent like a mime. I'll say, I don't really have the biggest opinion. Here's what I think, maybe here and there. It is what it is. I'd rather be transparent than fake confidence for content. I'll never do that. So that's why I'm even still talking about it. We talk about every game, but I'll let you know if I'm like, I don't think I'm going to bet this one, but if I had to, this is where I'd go. Hopefully that makes sense. I know we talk about that a lot in the NBA and MLB, but for the new football viewers, or the returning football viewers, that's kind of the explanation there, I guess. Raiders taking on the Browns. Raiders 1-point favorites here at home. Total all the way down at 37.5. This should be a messy one as well, but I'm actually leaning towards a potential final play here that I do. The only advantage in this game, and I do think that it's kind of the only advantage overall, is the fact that Cleveland's defense is all right. Like, I don't think that they're a great defense, but they're certainly not a bad defense, and they're going up against an offense that really just is not my cup of tea, I guess. I really don't think this Raiders offense is all that great. Now, they scored 26 against Baltimore. That was more of a fluke. They scored 22 against the Panthers. Like, who cares about that? They go up against the Chargers, who are also a good defense, at least based on the teams that they've played, and they only put up 10 points in week 1, right? So if Cleveland can kind of suppress this Vegas offense, I think we have a low-scoring, grinded-out win for Cleveland waiting, and they are underdogs right now. That says -1. It's actually up to -2 on some books, -1.5 consensus right now, so Cleveland's definitely getting some points here overall. Jerome Ford's questionable. I think Njoku's questionable, so those are probably some factors there, but Give me Cleveland, probably even on the money line for plus money, as well as an under. You have a Cleveland team that's 19th in both run and pass defensive DVOA, and then Las Vegas's offense is just not there. 24th in pass and 32nd in run offensive DVOA right there, and their bottom 5 defense both against the pass and rush. So there's no angle I can really make other than, well, some of the Browns are kind of banged up, right? But overall, I think that this is a spot for the Browns to bounce back after a game last week in which they lost and beat up on a bad team in the Raiders. There's no angle I can really get to like the Raiders. So give me the Browns as well as the under here. I think that this is kind of a sort of grinded out type of low scoring, messy game that the Browns not only cover, but outright win. All right, we are closing it up with the Chargers and the Chiefs. Again, guys, if you're looking for the Sunday Night Football plays, make sure to check out Tassos' video. He's going to be posting that right here on the channel. It's a separate video. We get a lot of questions every time. Where's the last game? Where's the Sunday night game? It's a separate video, okay? But we're looking at, for our last game here, the Chargers and the Chiefs. So far, the Chargers' defense has looked very, 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 very good. But Raiders, we just talked about them. Panthers, Steelers, like, have they really faced anyone yet? So even from a defensive DVOA ranking perspective, they are ranked super, super high, but this is by far and away the best offense that they'll see thus far into the season, right? And you have Justin Herbert as questionable. There's enough reason for me to like the Chiefs. Now, I will say about the Chiefs is that it seems like they're just winning these close ones, getting kind of lucky in terms of how they're winning them, right? They're 2-1, 3-0 this season, but 2-1 against the spread. They haven't had a number like this yet. They were 6.5 point favorites against Cincinnati, and that was their one loss against the spread. So to me, I don't know if 8.5 makes its way into being a final play. If you can get it inside 7, potentially, because again, I think that we have a low number here, that at least within that number, because of the Chargers' defense in terms of points against and all that. But again, Raiders, Panthers, Steelers, like, what are we talking about here? I don't know if this Chargers defense is actually good, or especially under the new scheme and whatnot, or if they've just played cupcake opponents. So to me, there's enough reason here to still like the Chiefs, but that 8.5 number does not look all that great. If we can get this at 6.5 or something like that, it would be much obliged to the sports books, because I do like it. In terms of the total, not necessarily my biggest or strongest stance here, but I think the Chiefs could put up a decent number right now in terms of a team total. That may be the direction to go in, because again, I don't know if we're really getting a good defense out of this Chargers team. And right now, Chiefs team total in terms of points scored, you can get over 20.5 for -160, 21.5 for -140. So if they just get to that 21 number, you could have a decent spot here, right? And I think you're getting a lower down number because of, one, how the Chiefs have kind of looked, and two, because that Chargers defense is impacting that line a little bit, in which I think it's more of like a fallacy. I don't think that the Chargers defense is all that great, but who knows? We can come back next week being like, we were wrong about that when Chiefs scored 3 points, right? But in terms of that, I would lean towards the Chiefs team total. Another sort of, I think we did that with the Jets, right? In terms of our lean, we don't love that huge number on the spread, as well as that total. It seems super low, so maybe we just kind of hybrid those plays and say, Chiefs, go put up a number, and then it's kind of like we don't have to worry about them covering. We don't have to worry about the Chargers putting up numbers. You know what I mean? So maybe Chiefs team total is our main lean here in this spot. But guys, that is going to wrap it up for today's show. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, you know exactly what to do. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you made it this far in the video, go ahead and drop a 33 in the comments. Lets me know that you made it 33 or just about 33 minutes into this. And I said it at the start of the video. You liking and subscribing and commenting does a lot for the channel, does a lot for me. This is my first NFL season that I'm now full-time doing Guy Boston Sports here on YouTube, so I'm super, super excited. We've had 3 great weeks to start the year. I tell you all the time, we're still gamblers. We're not fortune tellers or Nostradamus or anything like that. Like we'll have our bad weeks, have our bad days, but hopefully we can put in the work and get some good picks out there and have fun doing it. I think that's very important as well, to sports bet and gamble for the entertainment aspect as well. But guys, that's my little rant. Comment 33 if you made it this far, and I'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.